There's a lot of elements in what you said that, taken individually, so if you look at each one by itself, it can be something successful. But when you add them all together, it doesn't sound like it's going to be successful to us. And the reasons for that is, if you go with, if you look at, like we were talking about a celebrity game, like with Kim Kardashian, and in that particular case, if you look at the game, they really built it around her and her lifestyle and everything she does. And I'm sure she consulted and had input into the game because it's her brand, right? It's something that's important to her.
Right.
And if it's just made and it's not sticking closely to what she wants, I'm sure she would say, no, I don't want to be associated with that. My brand is too important to me. So in a similar fashion, if you are going to be working with Yuya, it's very important to know if this particular kind of game is something that's going to resonate with her, and then with all of her people, because then that's going to become the main focus, right? Just like if you look at Shakira's game for dress up for girls, clearly that's something that she was excited and interested in, and she felt that would be good for her brand. And so when she's pushing that out, she's very comfortable with it, and she's happy to promote it because she again feels that this is something that augments what she's doing, and it makes her brand more powerful.
Right. Whenever you're introducing a celebrity component into a game, it has to be a synergistic relationship. So not only do you win something from that celebrity's brand, you win something from Yuya's brand, and Yuya's brand receives something from you. So it has to be complementary. It has to be something that fits together.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about building a game that has a celebrity, it's not just a feature. If you're really weaving in her brand into your game, then the game sort of evolves around that brand and supports that brand. And then the brand is able to use the game then to amplify the reach that they have with their audience. So it really does become a partnership and a win-win situation. And that's true for Shakira's game, that's true for Kim Kardashian's game. The reason that it works so well is because the game itself is being promoted to their audience. And their audience is going to be even more engaged. It's kind of gamifying the brand. And so it becomes this win-win for both sides.
Yeah.
So, what we were hearing from the last time when we spoke to you is that there are a lot of individual components that you're thinking about, and each of these individual components, like Jordan said, are potentially successful because they're interesting, they're different, but all combined together, to our view, it seems cluttered. The word
Jordan,
cluttered is like a little bit too much in the game.
Can you listen here to me?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Juan.
Well, maybe you misunderstood something of what we said Wednesday.
Okay.
You asked us if we have some celebrity or some people with a lot of followers.
Yeah.
So we mentioned, we are trying to contact Yuya. It doesn't mean that we are going to make a game for Yuya, right? It means that we are willing to spend some money to find someone who can promote our game because we pay him for doing that. When we finish the talk we had on Wednesday, some of some members of the team say, okay, maybe Yuya isn't the right person to promote MOBO, but there are some YouTubers that promote games. And they give me one contact. His name is Rubius OMG.
Rubius OMG.
Rubius OMG. He talks about games. He's a gamer. He has a channel on YouTube and has about 8 million subscribers. Okay. So what we were trying to tell you last time is that we need someone with a lot of followers, with a big community, so we can pay to him to promote our game. Maybe if we contact Rubius OMG, we pay him to make a review about our game. He makes one video playing and saying, well, this is interesting, something like that. But we have to pay for that.
It's more than just payment.
It does.
Though,
it does.
No,
yeah.
okay, I understand that, but I want you to understand that we are not trying to build the game around Yuya.
Okay.
Or Rubius OMG.
And that's what
would be a problem.
That would,
right?
yeah. And so we're glad actually that you reconsidered because based on what you shared with us so far about the game, we were struggling to understand what the connection might be between the direction that you're going with your adventure and the super cute pets and all of this, and then Yuya's brand, and we're like, that just doesn't make any sense at all.
The other
thing... No, that wasn't the idea. The idea is that it was to tell you that, okay, we can make contacts with people that has lots of followers.
Right.
And
now, this is where, this is very
ahead.
important, is that it's not enough to just have a lot of followers. That isn't actually even important, because if the person that has a lot of followers, like you could have somebody who does, pick something, surfing, right? That may or may not have something to do with your game. They may or may not care about your game, and it doesn't matter how much money you pay them, they still won't care, because it will damage their brand. And so they're not going to damage their brand in order to promote what you're doing. So the important thing to keep in mind is it's not just about followers. It really has to be a fit. There has to be a fit between what that person stands for. What does their brand stand for? So for example, with this Rubius OMG, if he loves runners and he loves, adventure games, then there's a fit.
Right.
If he really likes shooter games, and that's it, he only cares about shooter games, well, his audience only is going to care about shooter games. And so if he's going to come out and promote something that is not a shooter game, his audience is going to be like, well, this is strange, what's going on here? And so he's not going to do it. Doesn't matter how much money you pay him, he's not going to do it.
Well, it matters how much you pay him, because, spending your resources, your marketing dollars, because if you're going to pay,
but he won't do it anyway.
If you're going to pay somebody to promote your game, that's a marketing resource. It's an allocation of your marketing dollars, and so your cost per install, exactly, your CPI is going to get affected by the person you contact and hire to promote your game. So it has to be incredibly important that it's not just someone who has a YouTube channel who has 1 million plus followers. That's really irrelevant.
That's really irrelevant.
It's the net impact that person, Rubius OMG, is going to have in the promotion of this game based on relevance. And so, as Jordan said, if Rubius OMG is into adventure games or maybe space-related games or runner games or maybe all of the above, then there's a high degree of relevance between what Rubius is promoting. Excuse us.
Yeah, one moment.
Okay, no more.
So so I'll continue. It's establishing a high degree of relevance between Rubius's brand and promotion capability and relevance capability, and also your game and what it stands for. So the two have to be a really, really strong fit in order for your marketing dollars to be worth it. Otherwise, you're spending money on a channel. This is a channel of promotion, right? So you want to make sure that whatever money you're spending is going to be worth your money. Otherwise, you're just draining your money on a resource that is going to be, at best case, it'll have zero impact, and at worst case, it'll have negative impact. So, it can be very confusing. So, reaching out to influencers is not a bad idea. It's a good idea. But finding the right influencer that is a good, relevant fit for your brand is really important.
That's what we're trying to do. Find the right influencer. But we are not trying to build a game around a celebrity. Do you know what I mean? Maybe when one of the members of our team suggests Rubius OMG, he talks about games. I really don't know what type of games, but maybe we have to find that right person that talks about the games we like. Maybe there is one person with with a big community that talks about mobile games in 2D. Maybe he is the one.
Or space games,
or space games, or adventure
or something like that.
Research.
That's really what you want.
So when you're going out, research what their reach is and what their brand is about, what they write about, how they influence that process. Research all of that, and then develop a short list that you can go out and target that makes sense for you.
Yeah.
Right. That's
for
something
example,
we get from our last session.
Yeah.
We get that, but we are not trying to build the game around one person. We're not making more a fashion game because of Yuya.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's again, there's a mismatch, and so if you can change it one way. Either you make the game work for Yuya, or you don't use Yuya.
Exactly.
And so you said,
Yuya, it has to make sense, and you're absolutely right. You're not going to go create a fashion game just because now your influencer happens to be Yuya.
Yeah.
Your game is not a fashion game. Your game is an adventure game, right? So it has to be something that works with that concept.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
so
that's very
good. And so, you know, the key thing here is to find that right influencer, and I think that is more the direction you're going.
Yes.
But for the criteria, we just need to make it clear it's not just somebody who's an influencer with a lot of people. It needs to be somebody
and not
specific.
just an influencer that does games.
Yeah,
that's not enough.
Not enough.
What kind of game? What's their preference? You know, really look and profile these influencers to make sure you're targeting the right kind of influencer for your game, not just any influencer because they happen to have 1 million plus followers.
Yeah, and that's what's key. So that, by making it targeted, it's the same reason that Google has been able to take over online advertising, is that they provide targeted advertising.
Right, relevant.
So when people show the ad, it's going to be relevant to the people looking for something, and so that person is more likely to click on it. And same here. If you have an influencer who is going to be doing something, really likes your game, all their followers, 1 million followers, love runners, love adventure games, they're more likely to click on it and say, yeah, I want it.
And be mindful of the metrics, like what Jordan was saying with the CPI. I mean, make sure that whatever marketing dollars you are allocating to be able to get this influencer to help you promote your brand, make sure that that CPI is going to be worth something, because otherwise you're going to be eating up your resources in a direction that won't be worthwhile.
Yeah, so that targeting is really the most important thing, is to make it worthwhile. Okay, so that's good. We're glad that you're thinking, you know, in another direction, and so that's good. Now, if we look at, that wasn't the only issue.
There were a couple of other ones.
Again, like we said, each part of what you're doing by itself makes sense, but taken together, it doesn't make sense. So in terms of being successful, you can still build it, right? It's just that when you take it to market, something's going to break. People aren't going to like it, or this or that or the other thing. So like if you're promoting it to people that like fashion, they're probably not going to click on it.
Exactly.
So these are the, so that was one thing, is Yuya, we've dealt with it. The second thing is the adventure runner together. We need to understand better how that works, because if you look at a user if you look at a game player that plays adventure games, that person, they're usually somebody that likes a couple things. They're a person that likes freedom, okay? Because in an adventure game, you can kind of go anywhere you want. And they like puzzles. They like solving.
Well, the end objective is about exploration, solving puzzles. So it's a different objective and a different motivation to playing the game.
Yeah, and they like, usually they have a lot of time in an adventure game. That's one of the reasons they have a high engagement level. Is you can sit with something, like if you look at a game like Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed has an adventure component to it. And my sons, you know, they'll play the game, and they'll be at one. I'll like see them 1 minute, and then like an hour later, I'll come back and they'll be at the same place, and I'll be like, well, what happened here? I got stuck. I can't solve this. I can't figure out how to climb this wall and get over and collect that thing over there. And I'll be like, wow, okay, that looks pretty tricky. What have you tried? And you know, then we'll work through like different combinations of things.
Right.
And then finally he'll say, oh, okay, I think I figured it out.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, then you do something, and you figure it out, and you feel good about yourself.
Exactly.
Right? But it's something that you're not really being chased. Or forced to do something at a certain rate. And there's very much of this puzzle kind of thing that it's the same thing with the game Portal, you know, where you're constantly like bouncing things and opening up openings in a ship or in a space, so that you can go through, and you're trying to figure out in 3 dimensions where you're going to end up, and where do you put, you know, the hole, you know, to get through. Right. And you can spend hours in one spot. Right. Trying to figure out where do you put the hole.
And actually that element, it was visible in some of the artwork. It seemed like, when you shared the artwork with us, it seemed like your character was going to be going through a hole, maybe like a wormhole of some sort, and then it was going to go out on the other side, and there was going to be a planet or something that they're going to be in a different level or a different area altogether on the map, if you will, on your site map, if you will, or game map. So that there was that portal element that I saw. So again, those are elements that are interesting, that are in an adventure game that makes a lot of sense. In a runner game, it would be difficult to understand just right now how that works.
Well, if you look at a runner, what do people like about runners? What people like about runners is everything's changing all the time, and you're not really solving puzzles. You're not staying in one place. You're constantly moving. Right. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to very quickly avoid an obstacle in most cases. You go under something, you go over something, and you end up dying, right? You make mistakes. You're like, you should have gone over, but you went under. Yeah. And it was too compact. Exactly. Or you couldn't jump so high, so you hit a wall.
And the object is to keep moving faster and faster towards this. It's endless, as you said. Yeah. You said that there was an endless runner sort of objective. So you're just keeping moving faster and faster, and it's just a non-stop sort of moving, and you're avoiding obstacles, and then you're just moving. Yeah. But the exploration aspect is really not a motivating factor in a runner game, as I see it. And I think,
they might have it a little bit.
Yeah, but it's not.
But you're not really in control of it. Exactly. Like in an adventure game, you might come to a place, and you can either go to the planet, or you can go into a wormhole. Right? And it's like, where do I go now? Do I go to the left, or do I go to the right?
And each place takes you to a totally different environment, so there's an exploration element to that.
So you're exploring.
Exactly.
In a runner game, you know, you might all of a sudden end up in a different place, but you don't really have any control over it. And so it's like, oh, it's different scenery, but you're just moving, right? So the basic idea here is the kind of genres that I've seen with a runner that get combined is you might get a runner and a shooter combined. They're both about action. And so I remember I had a friend, and he was working on a car game, and I said, well, there's so many car games, what's different about your car game? And he said, well, in our car game you can shoot at the other players. Yeah. I said, oh, okay. So that's the element of fun, is that you're not just trying to be the fastest, you're trying to blow up the other players so that they can't catch you, right? Or you're faster than they are.
You're basically sabotaging the other.
Yeah. And you could, as you'd go, you'd get power-ups, and then you could buy like cannons, and you could buy missiles and stuff like that, and you could blow up the other cars, and it was kind of funny, right? And it was kind of a little cartoony, and you know, people could have fun with that. So the kind of player that likes a runner, what they were betting on, would also like a shooter. And there is a crossover, but it's probably not as big as they thought. Right. The game wasn't as successful as they figured, because there is overlap. You can think of it as two circles, right? but the overlap between the two wasn't that high.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the people that actually like car games, they tend to like to customize the car.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily want to
mod
blow
out
up
the car.
they're not trying to blow up people's cars most of the time.
Right.
So there was an overlap, but it was little.
Right.
And so it wasn't as successful as they thought. But at least they were both action-oriented. But the people that race cars, they usually spend hours in figuring out the car, modding it, getting enough money to make it cool, and then racing it. And that's a very different profile from a shooter, right? And people that like shooters, they probably don't like cars, right? They probably like their own gun, and they love buying guns and outfitting themselves and getting camo paint and all kinds of stuff, right? It's a very different kind of mindset. Same thing here. If you look at an adventure player, they're not the same person as a runner player. Yeah. And so you're going to get overlap, but it's probably going to be very little.
And so that's an important consideration from a marketing standpoint, because again, when you start hybrids, kind of a hybrid approach. So in your case, you're exploring the concept of doing a adventure runner. Be thoughtful about when you're combining those two segments, whether you're making your market size too narrow now.
Because smaller or bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're clustering things together, the idea is you want to establish a clustered or a combination of two things that's going to amplify your marketing reach rather than narrow your marketing reach. And in my opinion, or in Jordan's opinion, when we're talking about things, we feel like there's a risk of making that marketing reach too narrow. Instead of acquiring a larger user base, you might be narrowing your user base. So when we're talking about innovative concepts and game concepts and so on, there's the element of innovation is always a good thing, but be careful when you're thinking about that innovation, saying, well, is that going to amplify your reach or is it going to narrow your reach?
Yeah. And this is, again, it's a marketing concept, and it has to do with the planning.
Yes.
And so just like before, like when Radhika was talking about your cost per install, and finding influencers that have the right target audience, it's the same thing here. It's looking at that target audience and saying, who is that person and what do they like?
Yes.
And again, if you're looking at an adventure target audience, they like certain things. They like to explore. They like to run around. They like puzzles. They like freedom.
Yes.
Right? They like kind of this three-dimensional space where they can go kind of anywhere.
Right.
If you look at runners, they like the action. They like kind of two-dimensional flow, and they don't care so much about exploring. They're not really figuring anything out except do I duck, or do I jump, or do I slide, or something like that. It's a very different kind of puzzle that they're solving. It's much simpler.
It's very movement driven.
Yeah, and it's simple, not complex.
Right.
So that's the thing. You try to combine those two, it's going to be hard. So you need to think about the elements of that audience, and it means taking yourself and putting yourself into the shoes of your audience. Right. Who is your audience? What do they like? And making sure that they're going to probably like what you're doing. And so usually what you see in terms of when people make changes to games, the changes are smaller. They're like tweaks. It's not really combining genres so much, because crossing genres tends to be very risky.
Yes.
You tend to make your market smaller rather than bigger.
Yes.
Now, sometimes you can make your market smaller. I'll give you an example. You can go from casual, anybody can play a casual game, right? Anybody can play Farmville, anybody can play Solitaire. And then, you can go to a mid-core game where it's not casual, right? It takes some skill set. Maybe it's some kind of game like a role-playing game, or maybe it's like Civilization, something where it's a real-time strategy game. So these take more time. You're going to have a lot of people drop out because you have to have a skill set, and you have to be able to think pretty deeply about what you're doing. and as a result, people will drop out because it's no longer something where they can just play it for 2 or 3 minutes and then leave. So, but you might go to that mid-core because these players will, because they're more serious, they pay more money.
Right.
And there's a greater percentage of them that will pay money. But if you make mostly casual games, you might not be very good at mid-core, you might not understand mid-core, and so trying to cross over into these and get casual plus mid-core is probably going to fail. Because what a mid-core player wants is
it's a very different motivating factor.
Yeah, than a casual.
Right.
Okay, so we mentioned in the last session that this is a runner game. The mechanics is runner. It's all built around a runner game. We're not trying to make midcore, and based on what you say, okay, maybe we should stop saying that this is adventure game because it's a runner game. So it is runner.
We didn't understand, because we looked at the
screenshots and we didn't understand the runner mechanic.
Yeah, we didn't understand how it could turn into a runner.
Okay, this is like some sketches, some drawings we are trying to, like, this is our first, how can I say, this is like the first approaches we are trying to make into the game, but the game is going to be a runner game. We already designed and program, develop the mechanic where you have your tablet or your smartphone and the character is moving and you press up or down the screen to make it go up or down.
Okay, so that's all you're doing is just moving up or down.
Yes, all you're doing. Yeah.
Okay.
But
and so it's like a road and something.
And you're still going
you're
through.
Just going through.
You're going through a road in space, essentially.
Yeah.
And you're just moving.
But, like in a game like Minion Rush, where you can decide at some point if you want to go to another scenery or you can continue in the same. That's what we want to do. In the game, you can decide if continue in the same type of scenery or you can go to another one.
Yeah.
And in the other one, you are going to find a different, I don't know, another planet or something different. We define 4 different planets, like a ghost planet, a candy planet, something where you can go and all the the scenery are going to be different.
Okay.
The pets are something
that you were developing with the cats that looked kind of like they didn't look like normal cats. They almost looked like a Frankenstein version of cats.
We're trying to find that that point of equilibrium.
The balance.
Yeah, the balance.
The balance between some aliens and animals, like space animals. And the pets are something you want to collect. The pets give you some costume and give you one power, but the pets are not like you can go anywhere and fight the pets, and this is an adventure game where you can go everywhere, but in a runner mechanic. No, it's a runner, but you can find pets randomly, and it's based on what way you take.
Okay.
But it's a runner game, right? One thing that is different about this runner is like we're in space and we are trying to make it like is huge. Space is huge. You are not only traveling in the plane you're actually the character is, but you can change. You can go like deep. You can go deep. I don't know if you can understand.
It's a little bit hard to visualize for me.
Yeah, it would help. I don't know if you have any art or something that you can show us, because what we are concerned of, and again, we want you to be successful. That's the most important thing for us, is that when you launch your game, a lot of people like it, and you get a lot of users, and the users want to play with it and spend money. Scoot and Dougal. Okay.
I'm going to draw something so you can see what are we thinking. Can you see what I'm drawing?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm going to turn this on.
Are you drawing yet?
Yes, I'm going to draw something here. I'm not an artist, so you will have to excuse me. I'm a developer, so the sketches will be terrible.
Okay.
But I'm going to try to illustrate where I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was like Voxy.
Yeah.
Okay. I will share my screen.
What he's sharing.
Can you see the screen now?
Oh, click
yeah.
on that.
Okay.
Okay. We have this. This is my game.
Yeah.
This is my character, and I'm moving this way.
Yes.
But there is some space around here, like in 3D, and you can go this way.
Yes.
This is one of the things we want to make it different. Okay, it's 2D, but
so it's a 3D runner.
No, it's 2D.
Okay.
But you can. I don't know if you have played Rayman.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It is 2D, and you get on some mushrooms, and that mushroom change, like take you deeper in the game, like to a, but not just in the Y X axis, but also in Z.
Yeah, in Z.
In Z.
Right, but it's 2D. The art and everything is 2D. That just going to be this change of scenery. That's where I told you. You can go. You can decide if you want to change, going deeper, or you can decide if you want to go this way.
Okay.
But it is endless. It's a runner. This doesn't make it adventure because you can decide to go to another path, or you can go back. No, this is random.
Still a track.
Yes.
Like Flappy Bird or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. When you change to this path, you can continue going only in this way.
Right.
Right.
Okay, but you can go into different
dimensions, so to speak.
Yes, that's what we're trying to achieve. Dimension.
Okay, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Now, question: can I always do that, or is there kind of like an on-ramp and an off-ramp?
It is random. There is some like wormholes that if you decide to take it, it takes you to another.
That's what I was talking about, like the portal thing, because I was I saw that in the artwork where you could go in through that, and then it looked like you were going off to another planet or something.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but there's sort of like an on-ramp and there can be an off-ramp. It's not like you can always move over, right?
I didn't understand.
Okay, so an on-ramp is like when you get onto a road, you know,
like a highway.
Like a highway, you kind of go onto the highway.
There's a merge.
Yeah, you go onto it and then you get off of it, right? Because the traffic is moving very fast. And so there's special points. You can't always go onto a highway. If you could, there'd be a lot of accidents. So
there's special entry points and special exit points.
It sounds like you have special entry. And
when you take another way, it is a complete. It is completely different, and there you can take wormholes to take you to other ways, not necessarily the first one, because the scenery is generated dynamically.
Right.
I see.
Okay. Sounds interesting. And are the
But it's a runner, right? It is a runner, and you randomly can find pets that help you to make it easier.
Right. Now, in these different scenes, are they very different from each other, or just a little bit different? Like, for example, maybe the track is being, we saw in some of the art that sometimes there are space rocks, so rocks in space, right? Like an asteroid.
Well, we saw that in some artwork.
So maybe you have rocks that are big, and then other places the rocks are small, or the rocks have big holes in them.
You can.
So would there be maybe different kinds of rocks from one?
There will be different types of scenery. Like in what scenery you are going to be with the big rocks. In others you are going to be near a planet, or in, I don't know, where there are a lot of galaxies and something very colorful. You are going to be changing, and that's when we want to make it visually very
yeah, very interesting.
very interesting. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds very nice. And so, if I'm going between these rocks, for example, and then I see a planet, I might be able to move off and then go towards the planet, and then the planet will get bigger and bigger, right? And then I can be around the planet. And then
That's what we're trying to decide, how to teach the player that he can go these paths that are beyond or that it's another dimension.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that
That's not
this
usual,
is a so
right?
this comes to the user experience aspect of things. Is you know, having something that is visually interesting or different is kind of a nice thing. It can be a plus and minus. It can be a plus from that innovation standpoint, but it can be a minus in terms of user experience, because if the player is not easily able to understand how to play the game, what they have to do,
they get confused.
It can be very confusing. And so now you're very, very dependent on having an effective tutorial, that the user has to go through that tutorial in order to be able to understand how to do the game. And I can tell you that there are a lot of people who just, there's no way they're going to touch that, and they're like, oh my God, I have to go through this, and I have to go through this in order to play the game.
Well, you know, if it's an adventure game,
interesting.
If it's an adventure game, a lot of the users love the tutorials, right? Because they just love to
learn
and they love puzzles.
This is why we were talking about the importance of having these genres really clearly defined, because what motivates an adventure player is very different from what motivates a runner player. And the person who is interested in playing a runner game will not have patience to maybe understand something new.
Yeah. Whereas
that's why the mechanics has to be very easy, up or down.
Yeah, it's got to be simple.
And maybe there's going to be some special item that appears that take you to the other place.
But it's past the movement of up or down. It's understanding the exploration aspect of, well, I could go to this, through this wormhole and then end up in this other thing, and oh, maybe I might find a super cute pet there to rescue. I mean, that it's to me, that concept sounds more of an adventure.
Yeah, it is.
Rather than a runner. And I don't know, again, how successful merging the two will it be to your advantage?
You don't have to do anything different to go to other places. And when you go to other place, you still will be playing runner game. This is just
we understand that.
Maybe I can give an example.
Yeah.
So when you play Temple Run, for example, when you play Temple Run, if you come to a place like the end of the road and you can go right or left, right? If you try to go left, you die. If you go right, you live, right? So you learn very quickly there's a right and a wrong. And a lot of runners are like that. You either go under the tree or you go over the tree. You can't do both. I can only go under. If I try to jump over, I die. So you learn over and over again there's only one right answer.
Yeah.
And so a lot of runners, the runner player has learned that there's a right way and there's a wrong way, and that's the only thing.
Right.
But in Temple Run, there is some places where you can go left or right, and there is no difference. In Minion Rush, when you play Minion Rush, at some point when you have played a lot of time and you are going very well, you can go left and you find the city, or you can go right and still in the lab. Or you can go left, and that's
deviations from that, right? But it's simple. It's not like many different dimensions. Like in an adventure game, you've got infinite, right? You can go left, right, up, down, backwards.
I think for the stage that you're at, what we want to do is just point you to these considerations.
Yeah.
Think about these considerations as you're building into the game, and later on, maybe when you're further along in your development, we can comment on our opinions on where you're at with this game development in terms of the options you're providing the game player of either going right, going left, what they're going to discover is two different worlds, two different scenarios, or whatever. The idea is not to introduce too much complexity in the context of a runner game.
Yeah.
Right. We're trying to make it very simple.
Okay.
Good.
That's good.
That's for the player.
The thing, the important.
Give some variety give something different to the player, but to keep it simple.
Okay,
Right.
That's what we're trying to do.
Very
Yeah, that's the key, and so that's why a lot of games, again, like we said, there's incremental change.
Yes.
If the change is too big, then a lot of players actually
Get frustrated.
get unhappy, because if you look at a runner player, they might have played 20 runners.
Yeah.
And they got really good at runners because they always do kind of the same thing. And now if you introduce a big change that is complicated, they can't get good at it, and then they're going to say, oh, this game is stupid. They don't say, oh, I'm not very good.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm like the best at all these games. I can't play this game, therefore it's not any good.
Well, again, it comes down to the expectation, and this is when you're staying within certain genres, you want to maybe be respectful of what motivates people within that genre to keep coming back and playing that genre.
And how open
Right.
they are
How
to change.
open they are to change. So that's the consideration that we wanted to bring up. It's very important.
Like an explorer kind of person, adventure, they're open to a lot of change.
They are. So
Big amounts of change.
So when you're talking about all this variety, I like the idea of variety, but I would caution that the variety needs to be in the context of a runner game and not deviate too much from that genre, because otherwise you will lose your player base.
Possibly.
It will be like that. It'd be thinking of the runner player. It will be like, I don't know, transparent to the user. He will decide, like when you in Minion Rush design going left or right, he decides to take the wormhole.
Okay.
Or continue. It will be, we consider that at first there was this idea that you are going runner, and there at some point you get to a big, huge space where you can explore. And we decide to take that off because it will confuse people.
Right.
So now it's only runner, but you can change the scenery to not trying to make it less boring.
Okay.
I am a big runner gamer.
Yeah,
I
I know.
play a lot of runners, and I get bored in most of them because they don't give me that variety in the scenarios I'm playing.
Sure.
I keep playing Minion Rush because now they have the volcano and they have a lot of different things and give me all those minions. And I keep playing Subway Surfers because each month they change to a new city.
Yeah. So it's important to have change. It's just that the game mechanic
Yes.
that people get accustomed to.
Yes.
You just have to be
Careful with
it's
that.
Not too
Exactly.
complicated.
Exactly.
Yes.
Change is good. Every game, if it doesn't change, will die.
Yeah.
So that's very well taken, that there has to be change. You don't find people typically playing the same game at the same level over and over again.
and over.
If they
Exactly.
did, they would get bored,
exactly.
right? So,
Yes.
so that's important, that you need more challenge, you need more power-ups, you need more pets, you need more scenery, you need more this, you need more that.
Right.
But, you know, there's also one thing to keep in mind is that when we use ourselves, like I like certain things, but I might not be typical of the people that play games, right? And so I might want something, but I might be an outlier. And that's why it's very important with game design and development to go out to a broader audience. Because just because we like it, just because I like it, just because you like it, just because Radhika likes it, we're only 3 people out of 1 million, and maybe everybody else doesn't like it.
Right.
Right. There we are trying to implement some kind of strategy to make people, to see if people are liking it. We, some time ago, we get some advisory with an enterprise called Usaria. They teach us some ways how you can see if people are really liking your game.
Yeah.
That time we gave them Crazy Shots. I don't know if you have seen Crazy Shots, one of our games, and it was very different. And they videotape the people and they perform some analysis and all stuff. And they say, no, people aren't like it, Crazy Shots. You have to change this, and the game went to a complete transformation. We're trying to perform that in every step of the game.
That's important.
That's good.
That's very good. And that's where you also, bring in A/B testing and analytics.
Yes.
And so we were wondering if we had talked before about platforms like Flurry or others that can provide you with analytics or A/B testing. And so, are you incorporating those into the platform?
We are deciding which are the things we're trying to test using A/B testing. Perhaps we came with two ideas of how you can change dimensions, and we are going to test both and decide which one is the best.
Yeah.
But now we only have very few prototypes because we have to stop. They get a lot of other applications we have to develop so quickly, and we stop. But yes, we are thinking to do that. Even Amazon offers one service of A/B testing. We're trying to see if you can use that.
If you can use that, okay.
Yes.
Good.
Good. So that's very important. All right. So those were our main concerns with genre crossing, right? When you cross genres, sometimes it's good, but most of the time, especially if the two genres have very different types of users, it can be a problem.
Right.
You're saying you're adding some dimension of change, but you're going to make it easy to understand. That's good to know. Now, sorry about the noise. Just have some people cleaning here.
Oh, don't worry.
So so we talked about the celebrity. We've talked about the game itself.
Yeah.
What would be really good is to see the game mechanic itself, and
maybe just pause for a minute.
One moment, a second. Okay, so we'll probably have to stop in about 10 minutes. Just
okay, don't worry.
If that's okay. Okay, so those were our main concerns, and you've helped us to understand, how you're dealing with them in terms of the genre crossing, and then now in terms of targeting women, there's different ways to do that. So also you need to look at, are you still, just so we know this from last time, one of the key things that you mentioned is that you are going to be targeting women. Is that still accurate?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So in terms of looking at a celebrity or somebody on YouTube, you want to make sure that that person, in terms of their followers,
that they have also the right kind of audience.
Yeah. Because you could find somebody that likes runners, you could find somebody that's very popular, has a lot of followers, is very active, but 95% of their followers are men, right?
And that would be the wrong influencer.
That would be the wrong influencer as well. So, those are the important things with regards to the influencers, is making sure that they're going to target your market. Also, with regards to the A/B testing, if you're going to be doing mostly women, again, you want to make sure that when you're doing the A/B testing, you're actually doing focus groups with women.
Yes.
And again, not mostly boys or with men or something like that.
Pick your focus group to match your target audience.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just wanted to make sure that that is in alignment as well. Because if you don't do that, then
it's
the results are
it's not helpful.
It's not very helpful.
Your results are not going to help you develop the game any better.
Yeah, and you're going to go out to people that really don't care about your game. They're going to be like, "We're mostly guys. This is cute pets, and
we don't care.
Not interested. It's not manly, right?
Yeah.
So we don't care about that."
And the same thing goes for your main characters. You might want to do some A/B testing around your character selection to see which characters will resonate better with your women audience.
Yeah, especially in that 18 to 24, because you could again do female.
Yep.
But it could be 6 to 12.
Right.
It could be 24 to 44.
Right.
There's a lot of different differences
It's because
in
it's
there
not
as well.
just women, it's women of which age demographic.
Yeah.
Younger women might prefer certain things and older women might prefer other things, or mid-range, so the thing with target segmentation in marketing, to use a marketing term, the thing with target segmentation is it can be extremely powerful for you, but you have to be very precise in the way you build that into your game design, not just in terms of mechanics, but also in terms of the characters, the environment.
Yes.
Make sure that all of those profile elements and attributes are in sync with the target segment.
Yeah.
That's something we want to you to help us. Okay, we are trying to target women in 18 to 24,
18 to 24.
but maybe it isn't the right audience. Okay, we aren't experts in marketing, so we want in these following sessions that you help us decide if that is a right target, or maybe it will be older women or younger women. I don't know, because because we are stopping the development right now. We can take that time to make some decisions, like, okay, in this time we can decide another target, another segment in that market. So when we start developing again, I can say to the design team, okay guys, I need some characters for women 24 to 44.
I think, sorry, am I interrupting you, Juan? Did you want to say something else?
No, you can, finish.
So, we talked a bit about focus groups, right? I mean, that's a really great way, is to establish a focus group. It can either be a formal focus group with controlled testing kind of attributes, or it can be an informal focus group. But whatever method you decide to actually implement that focus group, make sure you have 18 to 24-year-old women who like to play runner games. I mean, really profile the people. Again, the reason why you're selecting a focus group is it's a subset of your real audience, right? And you want to make sure that all the attributes that you're testing for are going to be represented in that focus group, and then you give them options on the various things you want comment or feedback. So give them options on the space runner experience, give them options on the game mechanic, give them options on characters, all of the different attributes and elements of the game itself, and make sure that the audience will be very closely mirrored to the end user that you're targeting in the market at large.
Yeah.
But that's a very effective way, especially as you're working through a prototype model, trying to understand whether this is the right segment to go after or not.
Yeah, and then that comes down also to the kinds of campaigns that you launch.
Absolutely.
And the types of different
engagement
things, different engagement mechanics. So if you're using something like YouTube, which tends to be younger, or you're going to go out to like Instagram or Facebook, those would all be good.
Right.
And if it's mobile, right? Like if you look on Facebook for non-mobile games, the games tend to be casual, and the users tend to be more like women in their 30s and 40s, right? So they're not really looking for something fast-paced.
Yeah.
They're not really looking for something usually mobile.
Right.
They're looking for something that they can play that's easy,
exactly.
and it just kills some time.
Right.
And they don't have to get really good at it, but they can move forward in the game.
Right.
Whereas the younger demographic is going to be more open to challenge and more open to, the social aspects. And that's something to keep in mind, is a lot of games, especially on the mobile side now, are incorporating social capabilities. And so in order to make your game stickier, and in order to make it, especially with women tend to like to share more. If you look at the sharing economy, women tend to be a very big part of it, because sharing amongst women is very natural. Men like to share too, but there tends to be more of a competitive element.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, though, again, coming back to the step-by-step process, the stage where you're at right now, Juan, as you pointed out, that you're in this unique position right now of you're in the middle of game design. So, you know, taking the time out right now to do a focus group with 18 to 24-year-old women that are in your right segment and with having the right profile and attributes and characteristics of that segment, that's going to be step one.
That's very important.
And once you pass that and you've now arrived at a pretty solid idea of how you're going to develop the game, you know, you're going to spend amount of time developing that game. And then after you've developed, say, the first revision of the game, now you're going to be testing the game in terms of the same kind of, maybe through another focus group now, but now the object of that focus group is to really test out engagement mechanics, what they would like, the social aspects of the game, you know, what are the types of things that will trigger this sort of sticky behavior.
Yeah. And this saves you a lot of time, because if you go and you develop the whole game and then you launch it and people don't like it and they say, well, you could have just done these 2 or 3 things and we would have loved it.
Right.
Well, now you've wasted all that time and money
and
developing the game,
yes.
and now you're going to have to throw it all away and make it new. But if you, the better approach in this whole process is build something, test, build something, test, build something, test, and then when everything looks really good, then launch.
So this comes back full circle now to the beginning of the conversation with the whole concept. We were having the discussion about Yuya and whether she was the right promoter or not. You know, the whole promotional aspect of the game. You know, in my personal, element. First of all, you really have to arrive at the right product first before you start thinking about promotion.
Yeah.
So, you know, think about how you're going to develop the game. You're still in the middle of game design. So, in my opinion, you're still too early to think about promotion.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, that's something that's far off in the distance. You know, it's not something that's reverse engineered. So really make sure that you're developing the right kind of product for your target audience. And once you've arrived at that, and that's a pretty difficult thing to do intelligently and thoughtfully, not just, we're going to put this and combine it all together. Oh, we have a game. No, it's really a thoughtful approach, a very carefully researched approach about what makes sense, checking in with focus groups along the way so that you make sure that you're on the right track. And as Jordan said, you're testing things out and you're learning and incorporating feedback into this process, iterating that and really refining the product first, then making sure that, okay, we've refined the product, checking in with our target audience through focus groups. Now we have a very good idea that we're building a product that's going to resonate with our target audience. Now you can go out and say, okay, we're ready with Rev 1 to start looking at target influencers that are going to help us promote the game, and that's a good use of our marketing dollars.
Yeah. And so that's sort of the process. Some things, though, like when you're at this stage, it's important to realize what investors are going to want to know about in terms of metrics and all that type of thing, as well as when you get to promotion, what advertisers are going to need to know. And so this is where it's very important to build the analytics into the product and the
right from the get-go,
right from the very
which
beginning.
is great because you're already considering that.
Yeah, and you're already doing that.
Which is fine.
But a lot of people, they go out, they build the whole game, then they say, oh, we need analytics? Well, we can't get these in here. You know, we don't know how to do that. Is there something we can just bolt on? They said, well, it is, but it's not as good.
Right. Retroactive is not as effective.
You don't get as an event-based, kind of system. It's just kind of a large scale of how many users you have and things like that. You don't know where they're playing and how long they're staying in each section and all this type of thing. So it's important to realize that there are some long-term things that you need to put into the product now that you may not use for a while. But there's also certain things that you're only going to worry about later, like promotion.
Yes.
And right now you've got to focus on the core concepts. But again, keeping that target market in mind. And
staying within genre in terms of motivating triggers.
Yes. So that the people that you're going to target are most likely going to like it. Otherwise, that's a big problem.
Okay.
So is that all clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, there is some specific things we would like to discuss with you in the following sessions.
Good.
Like, okay, there is some things that are not defined in the game, like not even some ideas. That is monetization.
Yep.
and the social strategy for the game. That is,
Good.
are we going to make a leaderboard, or we are going to perform like you can send lights or fuel or something to your friends to help them, or you can share pets. Okay, we haven't defined that,
Yeah.
but based on the what we talked with you
Yeah.
previously, you told to us like, okay, it is not like including some social thing because we think that's going to be successful, but to know what is like the trends or what is really now successful,
Yeah.
and the same is for monetization.
Yep.
So we would like you to help us telling
Sure.
us, okay, this
Definitely.
is so in terms of social, this is like the trends, and this is the most effective ways, and we can adapt them to our game, and the
Yeah.
same in the aspects of monetization.
Good. That
We
sounds very
definitely do
good.
that.
Well, I think this is a good place to stop. We're definitely will be happy to speak with you about monetization and about the social aspects of the game, and what will resonate more with women. Things like, you know, sharing fuel and leaderboards are more masculine. They probably would be something that men would really like. For women, you know, there's other types of things which might be softer. It could be chatting, for example, would be one thing. But we'll get into the specifics. I don't want to, you know, answer it this time because we basically run out of time for this session. But we will put together a listing of all the things socially that women really enjoy. It's good to
Yes.
have things for men too.
Sure.
Because it's,
You don't want to be singularly focused.
Yeah,
There
you
might
don't
be guys
only
that
want
really
women.
enjoy this
Right.
Yeah.
super cute pets or
Yeah.
whatever, you know, that you're
And there will be.
incorporated into
And
the
there
game.
will
There
be.
will be.
So,
So,
but we will do that for our next session.
Yeah.
And I believe our
Yeah.
next session is next Tuesday.
next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. But before you go, you can check our mechanics. So far, it won't take long.
Sure.
So you can check how is the mechanics right now. Esteban?
Esteban?
Esteban, ¿la puedes poner ahí y compartir tu pantalla?
You just email
Share
it?
screen. He's saying share a screen.
Okay. Is this something you can just send to us?
Is it possible to just send it to us? Because it would be much preferable in terms of
We
time
don't have
constraints.
enough time right now.
Okay. We will send you that video.
Yeah, that would be great if you can share it with.
We're gonna share the screen. Just
Okay,
Well,
we
what I'm
will-
saying is, can you send us the screenshots?
Yes. We will send you that video. Okay. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we will send you that video. Maybe we're gonna
All right.
upload it to the same drive folder, so you
Okay,
can
great.
look at it. Yes.
Okay, we'll do that.
All right. Thank you. So have a great weekend.
Yeah.
And we look forward to speaking with you next week.
On
Okay,
Tuesday.
thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
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 Did you hang up?